Hi. We all know the demographic wave that's building at the moment, with over $70 billion moving from accumulation to decumulation every year, and almost 1,000 people retiring every single day. But that's a huge opportunity for advisors to upskill and focus on ways to engage and have better conversations with their retiree clients and those approaching retirement. And I'm joined with two people very well equipped to do that, to help us with that objective. I've got Dr. Catherine Rickwood from Three Sisters Group and Naomi Abbott. Catherine is founder of Three Sisters Group and has a PhD in consumer behaviour. She's a very well regarded thought leader with regards to retirement. Naomi is a coach and facilitator and one of 250 coaches certified in conversation intelligence globally. Her focus is on enhancing the trust that's built through our communication with clients. So Catherine, I might just start off with you. You're a strong proponent of the view that retirement, as we know it, doesn't exist anymore. Can you elaborate a little bit more on what exactly you mean by that?
So this is a convergence of three beliefs or three ideas, three things that have changed in how we age. One is that we're living longer than we have at any other time in history. Two is that we're fitter, healthier and more technology literate than ever before. And three, this concept of retiring at 65 was actually set at the end of the 1900s, when invariably we didn't live until 65. Whereas today we're living much longer lives. In fact, someone I was speaking with recently had some calculations done using the same sort of parameters and broad framework and guidelines that would have been used to set that retirement age at the end of the 19th century, beginning of the 20th century. Mm-hmm. And using those parameters, the retirement age, 77.
Wow.
Wow. So this concept of retirement at 65 is really something that I think we all need to question.
Yeah, absolutely. And what has it been replaced by? I mean, if people aren't retired per se, like what are they?
If they're not retirees?
If they're not, yes.
That's a really great question. So some people have called it the third act. Some people have called it the second wind. In fact, Dr. Bill Thomas in the US, a speaker and author in the US, has a book called The Third Wind. Chip Conley, another speaker and author, has called it the modern elder. I actually don't know why we need a label. Yeah. The question is, why are we not just adults? Why are we not adults throughout our life, and why do we need a label for when we turn any age, actually? Yeah. There's something that I always enjoy when I'm attending meetings or conferences and a welcome to country is made. And at every welcome to country, we honour and respect those elders, past, present and emerging. And I wonder at what time that idea will actually be incorporated into all of Australia and all of Australian lives, so that we value age.
Yeah, absolutely. And what do you think is really, I guess, driving the shift?
To think differently?
To think differently, yeah, absolutely.
There's a couple of things. Yeah. One is that people want to continue to contribute. They want to continue to participate and share their knowledge and wisdom in some way. And two, people seek purpose and meaning in their lives beyond the idea of the traditional stereotyped retirement that we've been sold, which, given lifespans today, would extend for 20 to 30 years. So that's a lot of laps of Australia with your caravan and your Toyota, as many countries as you'd like to visit, and I can't imagine you'd not have done a cruise that you didn't want to do. So 20 to 30 years is a long time. Purpose and meaning really matters. In Japan, they don't have a word for retirement. They have a concept called ikigai, and it's the reason for which we wake up each day. And people are getting to what is the traditional retirement age, and sometimes, not for everyone, discovering that the emperor has no clothes, that in fact it's not all it's cracked up to be. It's actually a bit of work.
Yeah, I love that ikigai. I think if there was to be a label that we put on something on retirement, I think that's a much more appropriate one. And what about maybe let's delve into the workshop. What do we have to look forward to in your session, and maybe give advisors a flavour of what they might leave the session with?
There's 3 main areas. An understanding of what this changed life of extended healthy living looks like and how we might live. They'll also walk away with the 7 keys to healthy ageing, and it's a great framework for having conversations with clients and actually planning what the next part of their life might look like. And thirdly, we'll look at we'll discuss and get deeper insights on the attitudes, beliefs and behaviours of people as they move to this next phase. There is no right or wrong. Some people still aspire to the traditional retirement, and many want something else. So it's really important to understand that continuum of where people might fit with regards to the concept of retirement. And it is that work that will actually, and we'll build on in the workshop with Naomi.
So really taking it to a much deeper level in terms of the understanding of their client bases.
Much deeper understanding of their client bases and a much deeper understanding of why this matters, why this is important. Without structure in our day, what is it that's, without going to work, what's the structure in our day? What are we doing?
Yeah.
And for many of us, we think, wow, fantastic retirement. I don't need to get up to an alarm clock. I don't need to go to work every day, without an understanding of actually what that means in our daily life.
Yeah.
It gives us a reason to get up, our ikigai. It gives us social connections, and it gives us meaning. So we'll discuss all of that in a much greater detail in the context of planners' own clients.
Yeah.
That's really important. So we'll be bringing the planners' knowledge and experience with some of their own clients into that discussion.
Yeah.
And it's from there that we can build on that with regards to how those conversations might be had that supports financial planners to engage in a conversation around how people might live their lives differently to what they believed might be true for them in their retirement.
So much more of a coaching approach rather than purely just a financial planner.
It's much more, and at the same time ensuring that we're providing frameworks and ways of having these conversations that can be used by planners in conversations and for planning to provide structure. And a whole lot of what needs to be understood is really important for planners because they can play such a crucial role in how people enter this next phase of their life.
Yeah.
And can plan for something beyond a series of doctor's appointments.
Yeah. Sounds fantastic. It's really great. Naomi, we might shift to you. So, I mean, your session really talks about the neuroscientific aspects of conversations. Tell me what that is.
What that means. Yeah. So a lot of people know that we have different parts of our brains that serve different purposes, and including that we have a primitive part of our brain that is on hyper alert to protect us. And in the context of conversations, it's protecting us from things like threats to our sense of status and threats to our sense of certainty. And advisors are probably not aware that this might be going on in their clients' brains during a conversation. So we're looking at how do we raise awareness of that, how do we help them understand what some triggers for that primitive part of the brain might be, and then sitting alongside that, how do we prime for trust so that we contain that protective part of the brain and we don't let it overrule the conversations, let alone the thinking and the planning for people's futures.
Yeah. So tell me a little bit more about the difference between listening and really listening. Does it really have an impact on how people respond to each other when having a conversation?
Absolutely. So in the field of conversational intelligence, where it's been, the patterns of conversations have been studied for about 35 years, and we've looked at the neuroscience that sits behind those patterns, what it's been shown is that if someone is pretending to listen, or if someone is listening to answer you, you're likely to activate a little bit of the stress hormone cortisol. And the stress hormone cortisol then puts that protective part of our brain on alert. So when you're really listening to someone, you're more likely to activate the neurochemicals of connection, where people feel like there is trust and like you're on their side and you're seeking to understand them and do what's best for them. So the way we listen is the most fundamental thing that we can work with and nuance to improve our relationships with clients and just anyone, really.
Yeah, I'll definitely be more aware of that. Yes. No, that's fascinating. And what about the implications for a scenario such as an advisor specifically working with a client and in a meeting, in a conversation with a client?
Yeah, so when you think about it, a lot of us as professionals, and particularly advisors, we're there because we know things and people are wanting help with what we know. But there's a role also for them pausing their expertise so that they can actually seek to understand their client more. So what that means is letting go of the need to have all the answers for a part of their conversations. Yeah. And it also means that they're going to be adopting a real discovery mindset with their clients and being curious and inquisitive so that they can delve into and understand more fully their own clients' maps of reality or perceptions of what retirement might be for them. Catherine mentioned before the retirement continuum. So where are their specific clients on what we refer to as the retirement continuum and their mindsets around it? And so for the planners, in terms of utilising the practices from conversational intelligence and listening deeply, they're going to understand more where their clients are coming from. Their clients are going to feel understood, and then they're more likely to be able to partner in a trust-based way to provide the best solutions for their clients.
Yeah, I mean, I imagine it can be quite a confronting exercise to really, to let that knowledge go for part of the conversation and really focus on listening, but such a powerful impact that it can have.
Yes.
So looking at, I guess, your workshop in particular, again, from maybe just delving into some insights as to how that is structured, and again, what an advisor, I mean, you've touched on some of the pieces, but what an advisor might aim to take away from it.
Yeah. So as Catherine mentioned before, it is very practical. So yes, we'll be sharing some of the science, we'll be sharing the frameworks, but we'll be applying them to specific client contexts. So we will have the advisors live in the workshop, nutting out their conversational patterns that they can experiment with, or the questions they can experiment with their clients to help build that deeper understanding and build trust. So that'll mostly play out in the first workshop. Then we actually want their input into what are the tricky situations that they're encountering. What are the ones where they feel like they might not be quite building the strength of relationship that they want to, and how do we overcome that? So we'll be calling on those scenarios and supporting them to practice with what we shared with them in between the two workshops. And then in the second workshop, we'll be delving deeper into some of those tricky scenarios, including what do you do when you've got both partners in a room and they're coming from very different perspectives? How does the advisor hold space for that? How do they maintain and navigate that conversation such that they walk out of that room feeling like we got what we needed from that, rather than we just brought up a whole lot of different perspectives? So we'll be really practically working with that.
That sounds great. I mean, I love the, we've all attended workshops and walk out the door and forget what we heard a day later, but actually putting it in practice and coming back and actually working through the pain points and the difficulties is really valuable, I think.
Yes, we want to make it real. This isn't theory, this is practice. And how do you keep that alive between the workshops and after the workshops? So we'll be putting in some support around that.
It's terrific. Thank you both so much. I personally can't wait to delve a bit further into both these areas. I think we're in this period of time that we're in with in the financial services industry. There's a big focus on doing things differently, and I think these areas have really increasing the engagement and strengthening the conversations and listening is a really important factor where advisors can add a lot of value. So really looking forward to it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Us too.
I am too.